So what is the road ahead? Is peace really possible in Manipur at a time like this? Joining me now is the state's leading human rights activist. Babloo Loitongbam is from the Manipur Human Rights Alert Group that has done remarkable work over the years. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Loitongbam. I want to start by asking you, the Prime Minister in his Independence Day address a couple of days ago suggested that peace is returning to Manipur. Do you go along with that view? Do you believe that the worst is over and what we will now see is peace on the ground? Or do you believe the ethnic divide is still very sharp between Kuki and Meitei groups, despite the fact that no major instances of violence have been reported in recent days and weeks?
Well, I think the tension in the peripheral areas are still very high. I think it cannot be said we have come back to normalcy as of yet. I do hope that what the Prime Minister is saying is true, but unfortunately the ground reality is quite different. The divide between the people are still very much there. The buffer zones are still maintained, and we still have more than 60,000 people in the IDP camps. So we can't call it a normalcy returning unless and until people can move from the valley to the hill and from hill to the valley, and some kind of restitution of the life of these people whose life are completely destroyed is put into place. So I think peace is still a far cry in Manipur, and we need concerted effort to make it happen.
So what you're telling me that you believe that it is still very difficult from someone from the valley to move to the hills. Meiteis who are stuck in the valley who are stuck in the hills can't move to the valleys, and vice versa. Kukis can't move to Imphal. You're telling me you believe the geographical separateness is almost complete in Manipur, and that's the big worry. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
So what is the solution then? Given that you use that word there, absolutely, what is the solution that can bridge this gaping divide, this ethnic divide? Kukis assembled in Delhi today calling for a separate administration, removal of Chief Minister Biren Singh. Do you believe the removal of the Chief Minister is a precondition for genuine reconciliation?
I think, Rajdeep, we have to, first of all, it is the silencing of the gun in the periphery. And secondly, providing some platform where people can dialogue, speak to each other. Unless and until these two fundamental things happen, we cannot say we have made any significant move. Again, the hurdle is that the Kuki groups are quite adamant that so long as Biren Singh is there, they are not going to involve in talk. There was already a peace committee officially created, as you remember, consisting about 51 people, but it was a stillborn. It never could have a sitting. So now I think what we need is either the Kuki agree to meet with Biren Singh, or Biren Singh is replaced by a fresh person, which could very well be from BJP. When one is not talking about the president's rule, but there has to be a new face on the Manipur government side. If otherwise, without a dialogue process, without sitting together and trying to thrash out, I mean, whatever political arrangement that has to be made out by sitting across a table. And how do you set the table? Who are around the table, I think, is the critical question that is there. And I think either the Kuki agree to sit with the Biren, or someone else rather than Biren has to be there. Otherwise, this will be a non-starter.
You know, I'm saying this because there are reports that the Modi government is now engaging through the Home Ministry in back-channel talks with Kuki militant groups and others from the Kuki community. Some of them have met Home Ministry officials. Are you saying those talks can't go forward without the Chief Minister being replaced, that a dialogue is not possible, a healthy dialogue based on trust is not possible until Biren Singh goes?
Well, I do not want to be too jump to that conclusion, but no matter what is the debate and the discussion and the back channel communication that is happening in Delhi, ultimately the peace has to be built in Manipur, and it has to be the Meitei and the Kuki community who are fighting now on the front line that needs calming effect. If Delhi can play the interlocutor between the two, very good. But simply speaking to Delhi is not going to solve the problem. I think it has to be the Manipur government have to be involved, and the Manipur civil society, the groups who are right now at the forefront, has to be are the primary stakeholders. So it's very good, I mean, that there is dialogue happening in Delhi, but it should result in speaking to the stakeholders on the ground. Otherwise, peace cannot be just imposed, from Delhi.
Peace cannot be imposed from Delhi, but the fact that there are so many guns out there, you mentioned silencing of the guns. There are those blaming Kuki militant groups, others are blaming radical Meitei groups like the Meitei Lipun, Arambal Tengnoupal, others are questioning the role of the Manipur police. When you have groups now engaged in eye-to-eye, eyeball-to-eyeball conflict, how are you going to actually, who is going to play the role of this reconciliator? That's the question. How do you silence the guns that you spoke about?
Rajdeep, I mean, all the guns which are smoking at the moment has to be silenced if we have to move forward for a peace process. There are multiple actors, as you have rightly pointed out, but any negotiation can happen when there is a certain level of calmness. When people are going and killing people who are sleeping in their houses, as happened in Kwakta a couple of days back, I mean, no matter what dialogue happens, it will always fall. I mean, it will always collapse. I mean, dialogues will collapse so long as smoking guns are there in the field. So I mean, all the stakeholders who are now indulging in violence have to find a way to at least have a ceasefire and then have serious, sensible dialogue where you listen to each other, try to get the sense from each other, and you try to find and work out. That process have to be worked out. Otherwise, the stalemate will continue.
The scale of the human rights violations, I want a first-hand account from you. The FIRs have been filed of gang rapes, torture and killing. More than 150 people reported dead. There are many who believe justice has not been done because in many cases FIRs are just being filed against unknown persons. It required a viral video of women being stripped naked and paraded before arrests were made. Do you believe that an important precondition is justice and the government must act in an unbiased manner?
Absolutely. I completely agree. The problem is, as was pointed out by the Chief Justice himself, that there is complete breakdown of the constitutional order in Manipur today. The institutions are not functioning the way it ought to function in a democratic country. So I think we have stooped down so low now in terms of brutalizing the other and dehumanizing the other. I think we have reached the rock bottom. We can only, I think, ascend from this. So it is important that violence is reduced and accountability is established. At the moment, we are trying to document as much as possible what is happening, but the institutions which are supposed to do this, I think the question of investigating all this huge number of FIR is still at large. So I think we need some very massive effort. I mean, business as usual is not going to address the need of in the ground. There are, I mean, 60,000 at least people whose houses are burned down and they are living in IDP camps. So simply registering an FIR is not enough. It has to be followed by proper investigation, assessing how much loss each one has suffered. And it's going to take a long time to actually restitute the lives which were destroyed in this mindless violence.
Babloo, I appreciate you joining us and giving us a sense of why it will be a long road ahead still in Manipur. Thank you very much for joining me.